Welcome to our presentation for the Asian Business Case Competition. We are Group B10. In our presentation we will tell you something about Siddiqui Capital, who would like to acquire M1. In our presentation we will give several options and discuss them and then give the conclusion. We will start with the table of content. We will start with the current state of business. We will discuss the several firms that are in the business in telecom from Singapore. Then we will discuss the several options, and at least we will, last we will tell you the conclusion and the suggestions. Now I'd like to give the word to my colleague.
Thank you. I will talk about the current state of business. And I will talk about these 5 companies. I will give a short introduction about each of these companies. The first one is Siddiqui Capital. Siddiqui Capital is our client, and Siddiqui Capital is a venture capital firm that has recently acquired a Singapore-based software house. Furthermore, Siddiqui Capital has knowledge and the capabilities to give away to the G4, the 4th generation. The second one is Mobile One, or M1. M1 was the first mobile company in Singapore without fixed line services. Now the third one is Red Sea Investment. The Red Sea Investment is the most important client of Siddiqui Capital. The Red Sea Investment is a private international investment firm focusing primarily on telecommunication-linked assets and operating companies. It is a holding company and has no operations of its own. Lastly, I will talk about Singtel and StarHub. Singtel and StarHub are 2 different companies, but they both operate in the telecom market. They both operate in Singapore and also on an international level. Mr. Cho of Siddiqui Capital thinks that the most optimal way to try out the Singapore-based software is to acquire M1, the target. The problem is Siddiqui Capital does not have enough capital to acquire Mobile One. My colleague will now talk about the options.
I will now tell you something about several options. The first option we thought about was Siddiqui Capital and Red Sea Investment working together and acquiring M1. The second option is Siddiqui Capital and StarHub working together and then acquire M1. The third option is Siddiqui Capital and Singtel working together and acquiring M1, and the last option is joint venture over joint venture. I will now discuss these options. The first one was Siddiqui Capital and Red Sea Investment working together. The pros are they already have a very good business relationship. They worked together in the past. They complete each other. Siddiqui Capital has all the knowledge needed for the project, and RSI has the capital. There's a spread of risk. There are 2 companies, so the risk is spread. Then the cons. Through trustworthiness is at risk because they already have such a good relationship. When it goes wrong, then the trust will be gone. There could be a contradiction in decisions. They could think differently about some decisions. Siddiqui Capital could lose their strengths because by giving all their knowledge free to RSI. Then I will discuss Siddiqui Capital and StarHub or Singtel. We took these 2 together because they are both at the same level. They both have international experience, and this could be very nice in the future. They're from the same market, the Singapore telecom market. They already have a lot of knowledge in Singapore because Singtel used to have the monopoly on telecom markets in Singapore. Then the contrast. This is the first time they are working together, so this could be different than anything else because they never did it before. They could have different visions on decisions. StarHub has substantial shareholders. This could make decisions hard to make because many different people have many different opinions. I will now go to the last option. This is a joint venture over joint venture. The joint venture will be at first the Siddiqui Capital with another company, and that would be one joint venture, and then that joint venture should joint venture with M1, and then that company will come out. This has a lot of pros. You have limited input because you have a new company and you don't have to put everything in. You have to make clear agreements for all the new company. You have a new management team, which means you have a lot of fresh air in the company and fresh ideas. You'll have different knowledge because you have many different companies that are working together. You will attract more capital because you're bigger and more interesting to invest in. The new management team could also be a con because it could not work out. You don't know if the people could work together as good as you think they do, and the decisions will be made slower because they are. You always have to ask permission to M1 and Siddiqui Capital. So this could be a counter. Now I'll give the word to my colleague for the conclusion.
I will now talk about the conclusions and our suggestions. You've just heard 4 options from my dear colleague. Eventually we have to suggest one of these 4 options. We suggest the last option, a joint venture over joint venture. This is because we think the pros outweighs the contra. The most important pro is that, of course, the risk is the lowest out of the 4. That is because the input is limited with a joint venture. Also, it's possible for the new company to attract more capitals. We suggest doing the first joint venture with RSI. That's because RSI has the capital, and of course Siddiqui Capital has done business before with RSI. That new company will do another joint venture, and that's of course with Mobile One. And that company will open the way to the 4th generation.
Thank you for listening, and we would like to see you in Singapore.